Welcome on Gamme TV. Please subscribe, like, share and comment to get more videos. So today you want to know more about the history of ancient Greece from the archaic period to Roman Greece. Ancient Greece was a northern Mediterranean civilization existing from the Greek Dark Ages of the 12th and 9th centuries BC to the end of the classical antiquity, that comprised a loose collection of cultural and linguistic related city-states and other territories. Archaic period. In the 8th century BC, Greece began to emerge from the Dark Ages, which followed the collapse of the Mycenaean civilization. Literacy had been lost and Mycenaean script forgotten by the Greeks adopted Phoenician alphabet, modifying it to create the Greek alphabet. Objects inscribed with the Phoenician writing may have been available in the Greece from the 9th century BC, but the earliest evidence of Greece writing comes from graffiti on Greek pottery from the mid-8th century. Greece was divided into many self-governing communities, a party largely dictated by its geography. Every island, valley and plain is cut off from its neighbors by the sea or mountain ranges. The Lelantine War is the earliest documented war of the ancient Greece period. It was fought between the important city-states of Chalcis and Altria over the fertile Lantine plain of Avia. Both cities seem to have declined as a result of the long war, though Chalcis was the nominal victor. A mercantile class arose in the first half of the 7th century BC, shown by the introduction of coinage in about 680 BC. This seems to have introduced tensions to many city-states as their aristocratic regimes were threatened by the new wealth of merchants ambitious for political power. From 650 BC onwards, the aristocracies had to fight to maintain themselves against populist tyrants. A growing population and the shortage of land also seem to have created internal strife between rich and poor in many city-states. In Sparta, the Messenian Wars resulted in the conquest of Messenia and enslavement of the Messenians beginning in the latter half of the 8th century BC. This was an unprecedented act in ancient Greece, which led to a social revolution in which subjugated population helots farmed and laborated for Sparta. Whilst every Spartan male citizen became a soldier, the Spartan army permanently in arms. Rich and poor citizens alike were obliged to live and train as soldiers, an equality that diffused a social conflict. These reforms attributed to the Lycurgus of Sparta were probably completed by 650 BC. Athens suffered a land and agrarian crisis in the late 7th century BC, again resulting in civil strife. The Archon Draco made severe reforms to the law code in 621 BC, but these failed to quell the conflict. Eventually, the moderate reforms of Solon, improving the lot of the poor but firmly entrenching the aristocracy in power, gave Athens some stability. By the 6th century BC, several cities had emerged as dominant in Greek affairs: Athens, Sparta, Corinth, and the Thebes. Each of them had brought the surrounding rural areas and smaller towns under their control, and Athens and Corinth had become a major maritime and mercantile powers as well. Rapidly increasing population in the 8th and 7th century BC had resulted in the immigration of many Greeks to form colonies in Magna Graecia, Asia Minor, and further afield. The immigration effectively ceased in the 6th century BC, by which time the Greek world had culturally and linguistically become much larger than the area of present-day Greece. Greek colonies were not politically controlled by their founding cities, although they often retained religious and commercial links with them. The Greek colonies of Sicily, especially the Syracuse, were soon drawn into prolonged conflicts with the Carthaginians. These conflicts lasted from 600 BC to 265 BC, when the Roman Republic allied with the Mamertines to fend off the new tyrant of Syracuse, Hiero II, and then the Carthaginians. As a result, Rome became the new dominant power against the fading strength of the Sicilian Greek cities and the fading Carthaginian hegemony. 1 year later, the First Punic War erupted. In this period, Greece and its overseas colonies enjoyed a huge economic development in commerce and manufacturing, with rising general prosperity. Some studies estimate that the average Greek household grew fivefold between 800 and 300 BC, indicating a large increase in average income. In the second half of the 6th century BC, Athens fell under the tyranny of Pisistratus, followed by his son Hippias and Hipparchus. However, in 510 BC, at the instigation of the Athenian aristocratic Cleisthenes, the Spartan king Cleomens I helped the Athenians overthrow the tyranny. Sparta and Athens promptly turned on each other, at which point Cleomens I installed Isagoras as a pro-Spartan archon. Eager to secure Athens' independence from Spartan control, Cleisthenes proposed a political revolution that all citizens share power regardless of status, making Athens a democracy. The democratic enthusiasm of the Athenians swept out Isagoras and threw back the Spartan-led invasion to restore him. The advent of democracy cured many of the social ills of Athens and ushered in the Golden Age. Classical Greece. In 499 BC, the Ionian city-states under Persian rule rebelled against their Persian-supported tyrant rulers. Supported by troops sent from the Athens and Eritrea, they advanced as far as Sardis and burned the city before being driven back by a Persian counterattack. The revolt continued until 494, when the rebelling Ionians were defeated. Darius did not forget that Athens had assisted the Ionian revolt, and in 490 he assembled an armada to retaliate. Though heavily outnumbered, the Athenians, supported by their Plataean allies, defeated the Persian hordes at the Battle of Marathon, and the Persian fleet turned tail. 10 years later, a second invasion was launched by Darius' son. The city-states of northern and central Greece submitted to Persian forces without resistance, but a coalition of 31 Greek city-states, including Athens and Sparta, determined to resist the Persian invaders. At the same time, Greek Sicily was invaded by the Carthaginian force. In 480 BC, the first major battle of the invasion was fought at Thermopylae, where a small rearguard of Greeks led by 300 Spartans held a crucial post guarding the heart of Greece for several days. At the same time, Gelon, tyrant of Syracuse, defeated the Carthaginian invasion at the Battle of Himera. The Persians were decisively defeated at the sea by primarily Athenian naval force at the Battle of Salamis, and on land 479 BC at the Battle of Plataea. The alliance against Persia continued, initially led by the Spartan Pausanian, but from 477 by Athens, and by 460 Persia had been driven out of Aegean. During this long campaign, the Delian League gradually transformed from a defensive alliance of Greek states into an Athenian empire, as Athens' growing naval power intimidated the other League states. Athens ended its campaigns against Persia in 450 after the disastrous defeat in Egypt 454, and the death of Simon in action against the Persian on Cyprus in 450. As the Athenian fight against the Persian Empire waned, conflict grew between Athens and Sparta. Suspicious of the increasing Athenian power funded by the Delian League, Sparta offered aid to reluctant members of the League to rebel against Athenian domination. These tensions were exacerbated in 462 BC when Athens sent a force to aid Sparta in overcoming a Helot revolt, but this aid was rejected by the Spartans. In the 450s, Athens took control of Boeotia and won victories over Aegina and Corinth. However, Athens failed to win a decisive victory, and in 447 lost Boeotia again. Athens and Sparta signed the 30 Years Peace Treaty in the winter of 446 up to 45, ending the conflict. Despite the treaty, Athenian relations with Sparta declined again in 430s, and in 431 BC the Peloponnesian War began. The first phase of the war saw a series of fruitless annual invasions of Attica by Sparta, while Athens successfully fought the Corinthian Empire in northwest Greece and defended its own empire despite a plague which killed the leading Athenian statesman. The war turned after the Athenian victories led by Cleon, Pylos, Greece and Sphacteria, the Spartans sued for peace, but the Athenians rejected the proposal. The Athenian failure to regain control over Boeotia at the Delium and Brasidas' successes in northern Greece in 424 improved Sparta's position after Sphacteria. After the deaths of Cleon and the Brasidas, the strongest proponents of war on each side, a peace treaty was negotiated in 421 by the Athenian general Nicias. The first half of the 4th century saw the major Greek states attempt to dominate the mainland. None were successful, and their resulting weakness led to the power vacuum which would eventually be filled by Macedon under Philip II and then Alexander the Great. The power vacuum in Greece after the Battle of Mantinea was filled by Macedon under Philip II. In 338 BC, he defeated a Greek alliance at the Battle of Chaeronea and subsequently formed a League of Corinth. Philip planned to lead the league to invade Persia but was murdered in 336. His son Alexander the Great was left to fulfill his father's ambitions. After campaigns against Macedon's western and northern enemies and those Greek states that had broken from the League of Corinth following the death of Philip, Alexander began his campaign against Persia in 334. He conquered Persia, defeating Darius III at the Battle of Issus in 333, and after the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 proclaimed himself king of Asia. From 329 he led expeditions to Bactria and then India. Further plans to invade Arabia and North Africa were halted by his death in 323. Hellenistic Greece is the historical period of the country following classical Greece between the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC and the annexation of the classical Greek Achaean League heartlands by the Roman Republic. This culminated at the Battle of the Corinth in 146 BC, a crushing Roman victory in the Peloponnese that led to the destruction of Corinth and ushered in the period of Roman Greece. Hellenistic Greece's definitive end was the Battle of Actium in 31 BC when the future Emperor Augustus defeated Greek Ptolemaic Queen Cleopatra VII and Mark Antony the next year, taking over Alexandria, the last great center of Hellenistic Greece. Roman Greece. The Greek peninsula came under Roman rule during the 146 BC conquest of Greece after the Battle of Corinth. Macedonia became a Roman province while southern Greece came under the surveillance of Macedonia's prefect. However, some Greek police managed to maintain a partial independence and avoid taxation. The Aegean Islands were added to this territory in 133 BC. Athens and other Greek cities revolted in 88 BC and the peninsula was crushed by the Roman general Sulla. The Roman civil wars devastated the land even further until Augustus organized a peninsula as the province of Achaea in 27 BC. Greece was a key eastern province of the Roman Empire as the Roman culture had long been in fact Greco-Roman. The Greek language served as lingua franca in the east and in Italy, and many Greek intellectuals such as Galen would perform most of their work in Rome. Thank you for watching this video, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, share and comment. Thank you.